Hi Tristan,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, you?
Thanks for coming along today and giving up your time to do this PDI podcast.
No problem.
So the purpose of these PDI podcasts is for our listeners to get an insight really to people's experiences from the part three test. Let's just talk a little bit about the part three then. So you passed part three last week?
Yep.
Was this your first or second attempt?
Second attempt.
Second attempt. So how long did the training process take in all?
Well, we had a little while because we started before the pandemic, and then that all stopped and started. So probably best part 2 years maybe,
Okay.
Including COVID. But in terms of doing it, I suppose probably 6 months.
Okay.
I would have thought maybe.
Yeah. So you say you've had about 6 months' experience on a trainee license.
On a trainee license, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you find the training process?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Pretty not easy, but it all made sense and was methodical and worked.
Good. What did you find most helpful in your training that got you to?
I think the support from yourself and just everyone within the business, really.
Yeah. Now we all like positive news, and we always like good news, and we'll talk about your pass.
Yeah.
In a moment. But some listeners might be interested to know what went wrong on your first go. So let's have if you don't mind.
Yep.
Do you mind if we have a chat about your first attempt? So where did you take your first attempt?
The town, or
yeah.
So it was in Bury St Edmunds.
Yeah. And what was your lesson topic?
So the topic was effective use of mirrors.
Okay.
Which didn't go to plan.
Okay.
I think mainly the reason was I hadn't planned enough of what could go wrong, and of where I would need to change the route if necessary. Because I had a problem where the lad I had rolled back on a hill start. I asked if he was okay with it. He went, yeah. And then it happened again, and I didn't change the subject quick enough to help him.
Okay, so you identified the need, but you didn't adapt that need quick enough.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that was really the main thing that
kind of set it all off. Really,
set it all off.
I identified it and I spoke about it, but in terms of what the examiner told me is I'd left it too late to talk about it.
So in hindsight, reflection, what do you think you'd have done differently then?
So in the time, at that same time we had a roundabout to deal with, so I really should have dealt with that and then find somewhere safe to stop. But I carried on for another 5-10 minutes to find a hill to rectify the hill start, rather than asking if he would like more help with it. Okay. I went straight to the fault and remedying that as opposed to why. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. And what about other things going on whilst you were getting there? How did that go?
And then I think because I had that on my mind that I needed to remedy that, other things were maybe going to the side. So there's other faults where he went to a T-junction, and before he turned, he went a bit too deep, so we've done what we call a swan neck.
Yeah.
So again, I identified it, but didn't go too deep enough because I was thinking about the previous fault.
Okay.
And I was basically building my stack up of faults that the learner was picking up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't shifting them off quick enough to deal with it.
Right, okay. So you were identifying them, but you weren't remedying or helping them.
And weren't talking about it enough to do it, and just kind of letting it go almost.
So, obviously you had another go last week.
Yeah.
So what did you do this time then, in preparation for your second attempt?
This time my topic was dual carriageway, so a completely different topic altogether. It's slip roads on and off. And what we did differently was had a route of what we're going to do, how we're going to get there, and then the potential what could happen at every junction, every roundabout, every whatever it might be, and think of a plan B of do we need to turn off, do we need to loop back, or whatever.
Okay, so you had more than one plan?
Yeah, multiple, yeah.
Yeah, and you'd recommend having more than one
Absolutely,
plan?
yeah.
So not just an A, maybe a B, a
B,
C,
C,
and a
D,
D.
because you come up, like for instance, we came up to a mini roundabout with the lad, and I thought, okay, this is where he could potentially go over the roundabout or mess up his MSPSL, but did absolutely fine. And then the next roundabout, he got on the wrong lane, which I wouldn't necessarily think he would do.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, oh, okay, that's new. Let's deal with it.
And what sort of experience did this pupil have then?
So he'd done 30 hours, and he's not far off test ready, but he's not test ready yet.
Okay. So your plan worked?
Yeah. Well, we did because well passed. So, yeah.
So you were able to demonstrate that some kind of learning had taken place. So how did you demonstrate that?
So with the first fault that came along, with the position of the roundabout, this particular roundabout, you have to be in the right-hand lane to go straight ahead, and he got in the left-hand lane. So I let him do that because it was safe to do so. There was no one else around, so I thought, okay, that's fine. Then after that, we questioned it, and he wasn't sure about it. So we looped round. At the next round, we turned left, which gave us a longer road to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wasn't quite sure of what I was talking about. So we looped back. I said, okay, how about I show you this?
Yeah.
And he went, oh, okay, I can see. He saw the sign.
Yeah. Saying
what lane to be in. He goes, oh, okay, I understand now. And we did it like that. And obviously we talked about the risk of why being in the wrong lane is the problem, what could happen, and does he want any help with that?
Okay. And then you were able to take up your initial plan after that, after you'd sorted that
so
out.
after that, I asked if he was okay with dealing with that. If that makes sense. He said, yeah, that's fine. So, okay, cool, we'll continue with what we were going to do originally, which is the dual carriageway. So. And
that went okay?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, so we joined Slip Road. He wanted a full instruction to start off with, which I gave. When we got on, it was very busy. I think we joined in a line of about 8 lorries, and it was chucking down with rain. But we joined okay, and then I helped him off at the next one, and then we went back on again straight away, after the roundabout, and I gave him full instruction again because he asked me to do it twice, on and off. But on the second time around, I just gave him more questioning, as opposed to this is what you do.
Yeah, so it was more guided. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
with Q&A.
More Q&A, like what can you see? When should we signal?
Good.
Is it safe to join?
Good. Yeah. So in terms of what we call client-centred, was that more or less your approach throughout? Yeah,
because then after we did that one, we then came off, and I said to him, because I talked him off that second one, and then we stopped, because there was another fault he had where he got on the wrong gear at the junction, we nearly stalled. So again, we stopped, we had the time to stop and think about that before we rejoined the dual carriageway.
Mm-hmm.
And he addressed it, said, no, that's fine, it's just a one-off, just got on the wrong gear. So I said, okay, that's fine, we'll deal with that if it happens again.
Yeah.
So then we joined back on the dual carriageway, and before I said to him, how much help do you want from me? He goes, no, I think I can give it a go. Okay, cool, I've seen that you've done that. I may ask you another question or so on the slip road. If not, I'll leave most of it up to you to deal with, which he did. And I think on that particular time, he did his blind spot, but he looked too far behind his shoulder as opposed to just a shoulder check, a glance, which we again spoke about the risk of doing that.
Yeah.
And then addressed it again on the next one, and he was fine.
Okay. So everything, what you're saying, everything you saw, you pulled him up on it, you said it, and then you remedied it.
Yeah, so I saw it and I questioned him on him. Yeah, saw it, questioned it, because he might not have even understood he might not have even realised he'd done it.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, he realised, actually, no, you're right, looking over my shoulder too much would cause me to potentially steer further into the carriageway.
Yeah.
And then I asked him again if he wanted any help with it on the next one. He said, no, that's fine, it's just a one-off. So I think I just questioned him joining the next slip road. I said, what are you going to do with your blind spot?
Okay.
And he goes, I'm just going to check my shoulder. And he did it.
Excellent.
So I've demonstrated learning there.
Good. So advice in that respect to those that are listening then. So did you ever feel at any point that you missed anything out, or everything that you saw, you were on it immediately, rather than leave it till later?
In terms of the remedy or finding the fault, yes.
Yeah.
I think when I first joined the dual carriageway, it kind of took me by surprise how busy it was, because on the run up to the days before it hadn't been that busy.
Yeah.
So maybe I was expecting it to be quieter.
Yeah.
And I joined and it took me a bit for a shock. I was like, oh, okay, right, need a minute here. And I could have maybe said a bit more. We spoke about distances to lorries and cars and what can you see.
Yeah. But
I felt personally, I got felt the pressure then a bit.
Yeah.
And thought maybe looking back on it, I could have said a bit more.
Okay.
But it doesn't,
Yeah, I mean, you got some good feedback from the Part 3 examiner, and he congratulated you on your client-centred approach. I think one of the comments he made was there was a part in the session where you were joining the dual carriageway possibly, and your pupil used the indicator or a signal to move, and you questioned whether that was something that they needed to do, which was picked up on as a very good thing to do by the examiner, because again it was client-centred. Rather than tell them that they should have or shouldn't have, you gave it to the pupil
question
to reflect and give their answer, which was great. And clearly you've done this throughout your session, which shows that yes, your client-centred has helped with your final result. Which I think you were marked 38?
37.
37.
37,
Yeah, 37 weren't you? So okay then, great. So it sounds like you had a good session.
Yeah.
Would you have done anything different?
I would have, because at the very end I missed out on a couple of marks. The very last slip road we came off, quite a steep slip road down to a big roundabout at Tesco's in Bury St Edmunds, and the ladder came in quite fast, and I think I noticed it just a fraction too late, and I should have spoken to him and said slow down, which I did, but again too late, and then I had to put the brakes on for him to deal with the roundabout. I questioned him on the roundabout. He said no, I'm happy to deal with it, but he wants some questioning, so we did that, and then we spoke about after the roundabout why I put the brakes on and the risk of all of that. But as we did that, we were sitting in traffic, and we just got too close to the car in front, which I picked up, and I said, we're too close to this car ahead, we'll talk about that in a moment. But then we got back to the test centre, and I completely forgot about it.
Okay.
So I missed out on a couple of marks there, which I think he said could have potentially got me to that A grade.
Yeah.
So I think just consistency.
Yeah. Okay. So consistency. Yeah.
Because he said to me, "You picked up on it." He goes, "Well, why didn't you say it?"
Yeah.
I said, "I don't know."
Yeah. Okay. So great. Hopefully that gives some people food for thought who listen to this, and maybe they're doing some of these things already, or they can take away from this conversation some things that they're not. So lastly then, what would be any advice that you would give anyone who are now preparing for that Part 3?
For me, it is nerve-wracking, but once you're there, you meet the examiner, I felt a bit more at ease. Okay, you're under pressure, but end of the day, if you've been doing it day in, day out with your students, then it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, the pressure might get to you, but the biggest thing, see it, say it, sort it. Another little acronym I found was FISH, which is, I think it was fault, what it is now, identify, solution, and help, or something very similar to that. Yeah. And that helped me, I think, slightly different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, fantastic. So your advice is just to sit, say it, sort it.
Yeah, find the fault.
I would agree.
Yeah, find the fault. Ask why they have done it, and do they need any help doing it, and the risk of it.
Absolutely, because that's what it comes down to, isn't it? We're talking about risk management here primarily, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I've learned for some students is they've done it and they don't understand the risk of it. Yeah. And they go, "Oh, sorry, I just forgot." Okay, but they don't understand why or what could have happened.
Yeah. So is the planning for the Part 3 really crucial too? What you do way before that?
It is, because you need to know what you're doing, but be prepared to change.
Yeah.
Because like I said, dual carriageways, which is my topic, I might not have even got there because he could have really messed up on the roundabouts. I'd have had to change the whole lesson to roundabouts potentially.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got there, so I had a bit more confidence in what I was going to do. But I could have hadn't spent 25 minutes correcting roundabouts.
Yeah.
So keep the route simple and try to enjoy it.
Yeah, and be adaptable, I guess.
Be adaptable,
That's what you're saying, isn't it? Be adaptable. Don't just be goal focused.
Yeah.
Because many other goals could crop up during that session, I guess.
Just focus, I think for me, is take it junction by junction, roundabout by roundabout. Because you might not get to your lesson because of something that's happened prior to that.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Okay, that's great. As I say, thank you for giving up your time today to come and do this podcast. Great result, and you've got how many months? 11 months now. 11 months. Stress free. Yeah. That standards check.
Over my head. Yeah.
Just got to prepare for that standards check now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's time to just relax, enjoy what you do.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride, as they say.
Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll see you get through your standards check and get properly graded.
Yes.
Thanks again for coming in, Tristan.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.